Hi, everyone. Shauna Brinley here, welcoming you to another interview of Changing the Perspective, where we're bringing hope, inspiration, and positivity to this crazy world of 2020 and into 2021. Today, we have another interview regarding eating disorders, although a different version. Super excited how many people have come forward with this type of issue, yet they're all so different. So really excited to hear what we have to talk about today. Before we get started, though, I'm asking that you continue joining our journey by liking us on our YouTube channel. We're under Changing the Perspective. You can search it out, or in the description of this video or podcast, whatever way you're watching this or listening to this, the link is in there. Just click the link. Also join us on our social medias, our Instagram page and our Facebook page, and get some behind the scenes and some topic discussions that we do kind of along the way, keep people really interacted into what all we have going. Today, we have one of my great friends, Jay Stone. We met 3 or 4 years ago at a networking group that we were both a part of. He actually was my promotional products guy back then, which he's not doing anymore. And really just kind of created a bond. He had just moved into my area, which he has now moved out of my area, which is why we're doing this via Zoom. I don't get to see his face in person. But he and I just really kind of connected, and we became really good friends. The honest friendship, kind of the motherish type friendship, probably. In all honesty, I'm older than you, so I can say that.
I gave you the big sister. That's how I build it.
I'll take the big sister instead of the mom. But we really just kind of stay connected through life, whether Facebook, little chats here and there. So I'm super excited when this subject came up and he said, you know, men struggle with this as well. And he volunteered to tell his version of what has happened in the eating disorder world. So I guess take it away. Tell us what you got.
Right. Again, my name is Jay, and I used to be a bulimic, and I still suffer from slight body dysmorphia. I have always been worried about my health in the long run, and due to the reflection of this interview, I've really dove into why it happened even more so. My family, at 6 feet tall myself, was the runt. I was always very, very afraid of the health issues that my family have developed. And as life went on, it was scary that knowing that I had the genetics that could also be diabetic, type 2, heart problems such as cholesterol and blockages, as well as just other issues such as, you know, joint, knee problems from overweight and whatnot. Unfortunately, a lot of my family are on cholesterol medication, and my dad has more or less beat diabetes type 2 due to the diet and stopped drinking, so that's nice, but it was something that was affected for a while. Awesome. My story begins a little bit later in life compared to most people with eating problems. As a male, I'm 1 in 5 of the national eating disorder statistic. Males do make up 20%. I started having issues when I was about 19 or 20. I was about 145 pounds, 6 feet tall, graduating high school, which is well in the normal age, weight, height range. But I was also a running athlete who had digestive disorders. I've been tested for Crohn's many times, so I don't have much of an appetite. Even though I don't have Crohn's, I have a lot of issues just actually holding food down in general. So I've always been having an issue with hypoglycemic tendencies. So I just don't have enough sugar. It seems like most things just didn't stay down anyways. So me staying at 145 pounds, you know, in shape, as about as in shape as you could expect, it was very, very frightening for me whenever I got up to 195 pounds. I don't think I ever quite realized that I had an issue until someone told me I had a dad body, and then that's when a plateau plummeted and the ball dropped. It was extremely scary. I was, without words, looking back on it, like how stupid it was. for me at least, just how dumb it was for me to do what I was doing. I decided that I needed to be 145 pounds again tomorrow somehow. But I didn't want to give up anything that I was doing. Was a cook full time, and I was in college. And so obviously there's some drinking components and socialization components, but I was also a cook where I was making a lot of fried food and bacon and dessert every night for a custom crowd. So a good cook knows he's going to try everything. But I would develop really, really bad tendencies such as purging. Um, Purging obviously can have a lot of bad effects. With me already having gastrointestinal issues such as GERD, I was already producing way too much acid in my stomach anyways. At that point, I was worried about burning my esophagus with acid because one, I was getting sick naturally, but then I was also kind of in the mindset of, well, I'm already throwing up anyways in the morning, which was just acid. I may as well just throw up food and kind of cheat code my way into it. I led to other issues as well about aggressively running and doing cardio and workouts beyond my calorie intake, which was causing me to crash during the day and making it hard for me to go to classes or even work functioning at a realistic rate. So when I was 21, like I said, I was 195 pounds, which for me was the end of the world. I just did not want to be that way. It seemed like the weight carried in my gut, which is the last place I wanted it. But I'm naturally built to be about 180. Now that I kind of know and done my research, 180 for my chest and arm size is right on the money. So I really wasn't far off. I realistically probably just needed to cut down a little bit and do the diet and exercise that I'm now on. But I went way too extreme with it. Like I said, doing about 6 miles a night, up to 6 miles a night. A lot of times coming home from the bar, surprisingly, and just kind of doing that and then waking up, not eating for a while, go to class, go to work, not eating. And if I did, I would purge. So my range was a little bit different, different onsets. But eventually what had happened is I did get back down to 145 pounds. I was working out, so it was very, very easy to hide. Everyone knew I was a track runner back in the day, and I was going to lift with the power team that my fraternity was associated with my college. So it was very, very easy to say, well, look at what I did. I didn't really like to think that I went around bragging about my weight. I felt good, but I knew I was doing a bad thing. One night, whenever I had probably too much to drink, I decided that I needed some fried food to sober up because I wanted to have a productive day the next day. But then I realized that I didn't actually want to eat fried food because that was going to be the opposite of my progress. Oh, I just got here and now we're going to go back. I was a little too far off the end, and my friend had overheard me. She's like, why are you throwing up for it? And I said, because I got to get it out of my system. She thought I was talking about the drink, and she's like, you're throwing up a lot of food. I said, yeah, I don't want that in there anymore either. And so we talked about it, and I ended up running that night still, and we ended up talking about it sober the next day. She said, why do you do that? And it was hard for me to explain with my slender frame, and considering that she's statistically the overweight column, what it means to me to try to be that body perfection. Um, it was hard. It's hard to tell someone 100 pounds that someone that's 100 pounds heavier than you that you feel like you're overweight. And that was a very hard thing for me to do to anybody, including my family and friends. Again, I was small in my family growing up. My particular fraternity they're gigantic. They're just very, very large individuals. Most of them played football for the 5A division of high school sports. It seemed like they were all offensive linemen or all 6'4", 6'5". And so I'm small. And so it wasn't something I could talk to. And a few times people back, yeah, it's not a thing. You're 160. But I was trending downwards and going to 145. And that's it's too light for someone who's working in an office, like I am now. So it happened to be that I graduated in 2017 at about 145, 150, and more or less was trending to beat it. I pretty much stopped doing that once I moved to Springfield, so 2017. Because in my last few months of college, like I said, my friend, she had caught me, and I decided that that was not the thing I needed to be doing. But I also felt comfortable stopping because I hit my weight. But this comes back into play. Because like I am now working in an office setting the last couple of years, I've gone put on office chair weight again. And obviously with COVID, it's been very, very hard to. It's not one thing about eating disorders is it's not particularly something that's just cured. A lot of people don't grow out of it. It's something that people will fight and the tendencies will continue on, but you have to do more research and realize what can I do that's better, what's more healthier, what's the right thing to do in the scenario. So even though that I have been bad in the last couple of years and have tried to move around my diet, even doing crash dieting as recent as last summer, because I had put on weight when I was doing traveling work. I was just trying to work, and I will go as far into the day as I could, or I would eat until I had 2 or 3 cells, and then I would go to the gym, and then I'd come back and have a protein shake, and then I'd have one meal a day. And the bad habits were just compiling in a different way. I wasn't being bulimic anymore, but I had to be a lower weight again. Even though I'm in my mid-20s, I have to be my high school weight again because I want to be athletic and I still want to do recreational sports and I still want to be as quick. And it's unrealistic for me from what I'm doing. I'm working in an office. I'm not as mobile. You're going to naturally put on a little bit more weight. And it took a lot for me to understand that 180 is not bad. If you hold 180 and your diet is fine, if you're eating, for me, I do about 1,700 calories a day because I'm not very mobile. I'm at a home office setting, so that's really all I need. If I'm doing that and I'm maintaining about 180 pounds, then I'm honestly right where I need to be. But if I start going to the gym, I want to increase the calorie I can, but I don't need to be lower ever than 160. It's something that I've eventually talked to my parents about and my friends, and I will say I want to be 160, but I want to do it right. So I mean that's a lot of lean-based lifting. You'll read so much about lean muscle in any men's magazine because that's what's in. You see it on Hollywood. Um, everyone's seen a Marvel movie when any of the superheroes take their shirt off. It's lean muscle. Everyone wants to be like that, but there's correct ways to get in shape, and there's also unrealistic expectations for the common person. And life's about finding a little bit more of a middle ground and find better ways to handle what you really want out of your life. For me, it was finding balance.
So where are you today? Are you at that 180?
I float right around 176 to 184.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I have gotten some undiagnosed thing before COVID where I just hold a lot of water weight. And I've been getting tested for food allergies because something's not quite right for my GERD still. My intestinal tract is still a little wonky. So I fluctuate a lot, which was also kind of what caused me to freak out a lot back in later college days. Naturally your body's kind of getting into its adult form around 23, 24. So I float between 176 to 184, knowing that that's probably just going to be water weight. If I go out and have some drinks or something on the weekend, that's probably going to be about 3 pounds down by Tuesday. So yeah, my goal is to stay around 170s.
Okay.
It's just
So what are you doing, like workout now? Obviously COVID has limited some options that everybody has to some degree. Are you still running the 6 miles? Are you still doing stuff like that? Or are you being a little more realistic about kind of your everyday regimen?
Yeah, I wish I still had the time to do 6 miles a day. I know I say that, but I know so many people who are still out there running 5Ks daily. So honestly, I need to just realize that there is a way to do it, and it's not something that I'm probably going to do. Unfortunately, with me living in downtown Kansas City with COVID, the restrictions are very strict in the metro area of any major population. The gym was open for the most part, and I was going after work and during lunch and doing a 5K on elliptical. I don't particularly enjoy running out in the streets of downtown, mostly because I'm from the country. I like to go run on dirt roads and don't stop. Stoplights hug me when I'm running. But I have found better ways to do it. I also work out a lot while I'm at home. I almost always do short little workouts whenever I get up to get a snack or just take my 15-minute break. I do some sit-ups, push-ups, crunches, dips. I just do those throughout the day. And I've been finding myself being very, very happy with how the rest of me looks, even though I'm not as light as I used to be or what I would prefer to be as a runner. I know that my body is in good shape. It's at least, I know because of my research, I'm at least allocating the calories to something better, building healthy muscle as opposed to sitting in a chair gaining the fat that I don't want. So yeah, I do workouts through the day, go to the gym during lunch or afterwards. But looking with something I've talked to my girlfriend about, I want to move maybe away from downtown, go to a suburb where I'm able to run around cul-de-sacs and just get onto a sidewalk and run for a couple of miles like I've done previously. That's part of my happiness is running, and it's something that's hard to do up here. So there is a certain aspect of that.
Yeah, I do think there's a benefit to that. Where we're at in Willard, we have the Frisco Trail like right here. And my husband, gets out and does the 5K because that's kind of just, there's some peace, I think, to being out there where there's not cars just all over the world and you're not stopping at stoplights and, all this stuff. So
yeah, I mean, there's buses running around downtown. I just don't want to breathe a diesel, and there's a lot of distractions, unfortunately, with just a large population area.
Yeah.
And the best closest thing I've had here is either elliptical with some headphones or finding a mile running trail that's just across the river here in Kansas City. So it's going to get, no matter what, I'm getting in a car, which is a little bit different for me because I've always used to be able to walk out of my front door. So you just got to change and evolve those habits to figure out what you want in a healthy lifestyle and a healthy body.
Yeah. So with the body dysmorphia, is there a certain size that you feel like there's a comfort in as well, or is it only what the scale says?
This is a phenomenal question. I have to be size 32 in my waist for a couple of reasons. One, because I've always been a size 32, but it's super hard to find clothes off of a rack that fits me. That's if it's not size 32. It's either I bit the bullet. I ordered some stuff online, which I don't even like doing that anyways. And I get them and they look awful as I did size 34, size 32 length. So I'm typically 32, 32. So I did a 34, 32 and I hate it. They fall off of me, but 32 is too tight. I can't get buckled whenever I go eat. So I'm in this awful stage right now because I'm just naturally getting a little bit thicker because I'm becoming, I'm getting close to my 30s here. So just naturally sitting in a chair, I'm getting a larger butt, and my girlfriend picks on me for it, but because that's her thing, but that's not my thing, and it's hard for me. But I want to be a 32, but I'm sitting there doing elliptical, and I had to realize like my thighs aren't fitting in this because I'm running on elliptical. It's a thigh-based running machine. Your thighs are getting bigger, your butt's getting bigger. You're doing inclines on it. You have to realize the changes that are happening, and you have to understand that you're working towards something. Your body's going to accommodate accordingly. Like your body is filtering your results to your body. It may not be what it used to be like, but it's in the right direction. You just may not know it. So I've just tried to find something that makes a little bit more sense. 33s fit phenomenally, but they don't exist.
Awesome. So the interview we did with Lindsay Brown, it's actually coming out here in a couple of days, which I know this will post several weeks after that. She mentions the workout as well, that she was able to kind of have this masking aspect to it because it was always an excuse. Well, I'm skinny because I'm just working out a lot because I'm an athlete, or I'm only eating salad because I'm, trying to be healthy for my workouts. Um, you mentioned that kind of being a thing for you. Do you think that is kind of, I don't want to say across the board, but a lot of people are in that boat where they mask it with working out?
I don't want to speak for everybody, but a lot of people that I have talked to about it have been in that similar boat. It's such a body image thing. Um, it was, I'll just kind of out myself a little bit. It's hard to hear people that you are dating or have crushes on in like high school or, even the early college years talk about, movie stars or somebody down the road that's just way better in shape. It's, men get it too. I know women see a lot of it, like the Victoria's Secret ads, magazines, and I can understand it. It is very, very hard to compete with the Photoshop or just, girl whose job it is to be a model. That is a lot of work that goes into it. I'm not going to take away from anybody on that. And I also understand how hard it is to be a female in today's world. But men do have it too. It's just one of those things. No one's going to say, I'm jealous of, insert a movie star as a guy. It's hard, but we try to find things that we can do.
So you secretly think it, you just won't actually say it. Is that what you're saying?
A little bit, yeah.
Yes. So when we first brought up the subject, when you reached out to me, you mentioned kind of the fact that men do struggle with this more than we realize. There's a men's health factor to this. Have you met more men like you that you were able to kind of help each other through this, or can you tell me more about that?
I've actually met a lot more females, mostly because of my working history, because of the people that I kind of got found out by were a sorority member. And I was very comfortable talking with people that I was dating that was also going through some issues like that. It's just one of those things that it falls the way it does. Um, I worked in healthcare, extremely female dominated workplace environment, and I work in sales. And a lot of the people that I was hanging out with there were just they just happened to be females. There's no rhyme or reason with it. It just that's the way it fell. Most of the men I hang out with are very, very body positive in any aspect. A lot of them were power lifters. They couldn't get big enough. And like I said, my fraternity members they're just gigantic. They're just 6'4", 6'5". The guys who came and moved me, one was 6'8", 6'9", or something like that. They're just very large individuals. So unfortunately, it just didn't filter that way for me. But I've read a lot of articles. I've seen a lot of tweets. I kind of go down that rabbit hole every once in a while when I see something on Twitter and I'll interact with somebody, and it exists. They're very ashamed of what's going on. I don't know if I've heard so much about they're afraid of what they're going to fall into, like their parents' habits. It crippled me. I was so terrified. I found out that I have a heart defect that's similar to my mom's. It won't affect me hardly at all, but it scared the daylight out of me when I found out. And I had to do whatever I could not be victim to heart failure, or I did not want to be diabetic because I sell insurance for Medicare base. So I've seen what happens to people who take insulin. It's financially restricting, and that's the loosest terms I could say for it. I was so afraid of that happening. I really psyched myself out, and I was not doing the right way of what I need to do to be healthy. Just taking cheat codes.
Yeah. Do you feel like getting counseling for this type of thing is a benefit for someone in like your shoes, struggling with something similar?
I am one of those people that say that talking is one of the best medicines that can exist. If no one knows what's going on, no one can fix it. If you don't go see a doctor for a broken knee, you're probably not going to get your broken knee fixed right, and it's gonna end up repairing itself badly. So I consider talking realistically the best medicine. I got lucky, and I was probably only doing bulimia for 4 months before I realized that I need to be doing this. And I've had a couple of instances where I did a day or two, a couple of years ago, but I've talked about it and found better ways to do things. Did research, went online, found articles about people talking about what they did. Because for me, eating has been a love-hate relationship. I was a cook for many years. I love food, but I didn't want it. I didn't want the bad effects, and I also was getting sick on it all the time. So I've had just the worst luck on food, I think. But
Yeah.
counseling, yeah, I think if it's worth a shot. I think you have a better shot of it getting cured by talking to a counselor or talking to somebody than not at all.
Yeah. So when you look in the mirror at 145 versus when you look in the mirror at where you are today, do you physically see at 145 a different person than you see now, or do you still see kind of what you think is this overweight person, even if you're 145 versus 170?
I see an adult. I think this is the way I've kind of looked at it and have accepted it. There's a lot of changes. When we first got on here and you said, "Oh my God, your hair," there's a lot of changes that happen in someone's adult life. And I mean, I used to have like a buzz cut, as you always knew me, very half guard. So I mean, changes are going to happen in your life, and that's all about making the right positive ones. And body image for me, things have changed. I have about, I think 30, no, I think about 28-inch arms or something like that. And I think it was 38-inch chest, but I was 32 on the hips. So it's more or less, it's going diagonally down. But for me, yeah, sitting at a desk, you're gonna not really have like a six pack. So it looks more adult probably. It's not gonna be, I'm not gonna be in Teen Vogue anytime soon. But I'm happy that I'm at the right weight. Do I look back at the 145 pounds when I was running track and like miss those days? Unless there's anybody. But I know that right now, that's not what I need in life. I need to eat healthy. I need to realize that there are things in my family that genetically pass on to me. And I should be, adverse to putting on a lot of weight because of the heart and diabetic risk and stroke. The issues that a lot of families have. But I don't need to be the 145 pounds. I need to be, 160, 180. That's going to be okay. Just eat healthy, exercise, and talk about if you're having issues. Because even if I wasn't being bulimic for a while, I was still, skipping meals and was running low on energy. My work was getting affected. Now that I'm, in a deeply committed relationship, this money and job performance affects more than just me. Being a team leader and that affects more than just me. So just do your research, find healthier ways to do things, and enjoy food too.
Yeah. So speaking of research, you sent me some resources, and it looks like you kind of leaned on, obviously, your support group at your college at the time, which was Pittsburg State. You had your fraternity brothers, you had what sounds like maybe some sorority sister friends of the fraternity, people like that. But then you also list some kind of the health magazine online and some of those things. Do you just recommend people just search out kind of healthy eating, or kind of what were your searches for what you found?
I don't think when it comes to diet, short of getting like a nutritionist and like a personal coach who's been very well vetted, it's going to be hard to go online and find an exact diet plan that makes sense for you. As of late 2020, I still know several people who are doing keto diets. There's been some people who have phenomenal results, but then you also hear people getting atrophy basically because they're not getting any carbs to replace their muscles as they're working out. They're just crashing and they're in a cycle. They use caffeine in the morning to wake them up because they don't have carbs, but then they're not rebuilding muscle. And I've done keto. thinking that that was a healthy thing to do, but I was just crashing. So that doesn't work for me, and that's not the healthy way to go. I think finding a lot of different sources, comparing people's stories compared to like what you're kind of going through is going to be more accurate. Obviously, not everyone can go out and do a dietitian, but there's a lot more information on the web than anyone realizes. I use Men's Health magazine for a lot of just the simple workouts that I was doing at the gym because I only have an hour on the lunch days, and which is not as much time as I used to spend in the gym. So you got to be quick and effective. So I learned a lot from there. Another resource I had used was askmen.com. I've used that for a long, long time for various things, but those were things I came across too on there was, this is the 1 in 20, sorry, the 20% was directly pulled from Ask Men. And I didn't realize how common it actually was. You don't hear about that stuff in men's eating disorders out in the open. So,
Do you think it's because men have harder time being vulnerable about stuff like that in general?
I think absolutely.
Yeah.
Because if I would have said that to a stepfather I had previously, um, that would have just never gone over with. No, never in a million years. Even a lot of my fraternity brothers would have been like, "That's probably dumb," and that's not a fraternity thing. That's just, I think that's just a guy thing.
Yeah.
We're not. That's not how guys are built. So no. Yeah.
Okay. That's funny. That's funny. So, any advice you would give to anyone that's kind of been through your situation or are currently struggling in your situation?
I think the most important thing I said today is that you need to talk about it. I think, especially as a gentleman, you have to find someone who's not going to shrug you off. Trust me, you're not silly for saying that you have a problem in any aspect. Doesn't matter if it's work or eating disorder. I mean, far and wide, you got to ask for help. You got to be coachable. You have to understand that if you don't feel 100%, that there are people out there that will help you get to 100%. And whatever that 100% means for you may be different, but someone's going to have the answer, whether it be one person, 3 people, or 25 people. Have to talk about this problem because it's not just going to go away overnight. You got to find healthier habits to do what you want.
Do you feel like some of that starts with your significant other that you're with as well, being supportive of, hey, no, we are going to eat for dinner. You don't get to not, or, making healthy choices with you or as part of a team?
Yeah, she gets on to me because sometimes I will eat later in the day, but it's sometimes because I get very nauseous in the morning, so I just do a little bit later allocations, late breakfast, late lunch, later dinner, but she'll keep track, with me and make sure that I'm doing well enough. She's very lean, so we found better ways to do a lot of things. Just a lot of times we'll split meals, but we also eat everything because it's almost like there's not enough to take home on a to-go box or something like that. But yeah, she's been a great support system. And honestly, that positive reinforcement is something that I feel like a lot of men don't get. And her just telling me, the sweet lovey-dovey things like, "Oh, you look great today," or "I love it when you wear that." It goes so far. Or even her just snuggle it up, not to get too TMI, it just makes you feel good. And obviously, I know that's not a situation that everyone's in, but just be your best self. People are thinking that you look good or you're making a positive change. And I try to go out of my way and coach on a lot of my friends who have made great strides in weightlifting, running, or any other way, just because I know it is hard. You yourself, I think statistically, are like the last person to notice changes when you go through physical changes. So someone's got to tell you.
Yeah. They say you and the people that you live with daily tend to not see it as quickly as someone that you haven't seen in months or years,
Yeah.
depending on how much of a change you've had. They definitely say that for sure. I will say in some of the people that we've been interviewing, and I feel like men have kind of outweighed the women in this particular issue, is when I ask about their support system, men aren't as quick to say, oh yeah, I have someone that is always rooting me on. I always have, a fan. They just go, oh, I just figured it out myself. Well, as much as men wants to play this tough guy thing, there's still that piece of them that wants to be loved and needed and know that they're appreciated for whatever it is that they're doing at the time, whether they admit it or not. And part of the thing that I think lacks with men is they're afraid to talk about it. And so their other half doesn't approach them about it either, because it's still fear-based.
Yeah, it's easy as a guy to say, no, I don't want to talk about it, and everyone
Yeah.
just kind of understands and leaves it alone. And I think we got to get away from that.
I don't. I push mine. If anybody knows me, they know that it's true.
Yeah.
I push everyone.
One thing that I was doing for a while that really helped was, because like I said, my family was having they have health issues as well, is kind of doing like an accountability buddy for someone that you really, really want to make sure that their life extends. So I was doing a little bit, it's hard because I don't live anywhere close to my mom, but I was trying to find good, healthy meals for her because she needs to lose weight, but she needs to do it very, very naturally. She's got liver issues, that's completely unrelated to drinking. She doesn't drink. So it's all diet based. So you got to find a lot of interesting nutrition things. So I've been trying to help her find things to help lose weight naturally, because physical fitness is just not something that's going to happen for her. She walks probably 6-7 miles a day as a nurse on the floor, so she doesn't want to go running afterwards, which is understandable. But helping you find that accountability buddy is probably something that a lot of people probably need to find. And it may be something that it's on Twitter or Facebook. You may never meet the person that you're talking to. I think pen pals could be very, very beneficial in this circumstance, where someone who's not in your immediate circle that you can talk to about. There's a lot of different options out there. I wish I knew all of them. Like I said, I got very, very lucky that I had a close friend of me in college find out accidentally, stopped me before I got too crazy. And honestly, I probably would have ruined my esophagus a couple of months because of how sick I was getting just outside of my own health induced stuff. So it could have been very, very bad.
Yeah. I think the chat forums, that's a great idea. I mean, there's a group for pretty much everything out there. And in COVID days now, there's even more, because that's the only way people can connect in certain cities. Like you can't even see anybody, or you're not supposed to be seeing very many people right now. And especially in the bigger cities that are even more restricted than the little, rural areas that we're in, or I'm in. I guess you're not. And so this is a perfect time for those people to find kind of that chat group and find that person that can be accountable in Europe or in across the United States. I mean, whatever. That's a great idea.
Yeah, pulling that thread, I'm sure there's a hashtag out there. I wish I would have. I didn't really do too much of the hashtagging or anything like that. Just kind of found people pretty organically. But yeah, I'm sure there's hashtags and all sorts of things you could file through and find somebody and ask them literally any question. I don't think there's a whole lot of people that goes through stuff like this that's recovered that wouldn't be willing to share their story. Obviously, it was something I really wanted to talk about, but even though we planned this out for a week, it was very hard signing on to the link because it's not easy to talk about still. It's something that doesn't really affect me, but it's also something that doesn't go away anymore. I mean, it doesn't affect me anymore, but it's not going to go away.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people that have said, I'm just not sure I'm ready. And I'm not pushing anybody to interview, but I've also found that once they tell their story, it's like, oh, okay. Like they realize they're okay. It didn't like destroy their world. And one of my very first interviews, he wasn't sure. And he got 2 amazing comments back on his video. And he was like, people are watching, like they're listening. And I think it can bring some new energy. So I appreciate you doing this, even though you hesitated. We can't let our stories hold us back forever. There's always something to be told and something to be learned from. And so I really do appreciate that you joined us.
No, absolutely. And thank you for having me. And it's just one of those things that people have to understand, that you're not who you were forever. You have to for me, I wanted to be that 145-pound track runner. And when I was in college, I wasn't the furthest thing away from a track runner. Okay. And now that I'm an insurance salesperson, I'm the farthest thing away from being, you know, fraternity member at a Division II school, getting drunk every weekend, you know, which was
Yeah.
still just super far away from being a track runner. And that's okay. It's all about progression and finding the healthy things that you like and mitigating it or integrating it into your daily life.
My son is kind of in that now. So, you know, he's a freshman in college. He's a college athlete.
Yeah.
But his is on the other side. You know, he's just squatted 505, and he's like the only freshman doing that outside of like the football team.
Yeah, that's
He's
a
a
great
baseball player. But he's striving for like those weights, the, you know, solidness, not the skinny part. But in his mind, you know, he's forever going to look just like he looks right now at 19 as a college athlete. And I'm like, oh, buddy, like,
Yeah.
you keep hoping for that.
Social media has hurt us, I think, with the
Yes.
flashbacks of every 3 years on Facebook or Snapchat. It's like, oh, that.
Well,
That, like,
I always show him his middle school picture because, you know, they have the baby fat still. And, you know, like I keep reminding him, you know, you transition to 19 of where you are now, and he is stout and he is built, but he's working out twice a day and, you know, whatever. But buddy, that doesn't mean you get to look just like this when you're 25. Like this transition still happens. Now, that doesn't mean you can't be healthy, but you're not going to be squatting 505 forever. So like,
absolutely
enjoy it. But in his mind, like he's going to stay right where he's at, you know, right now, that's how he's always going to be. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's natural progression. I think I think the person who has the world plank record, which is like short, I think it's just short of 24 hours or something like that. I think he's like in his 50s or something. Like there's still ways to go out there and rock it, but his body probably doesn't look the same. I think he was ex-military. Like he was shredded back in his 20s. Now he's just built. It's different, you know, and it's not the same. But he did it naturally. He probably did it the right way. And that's really what I'm saying. Like there's no shortcuts because you're robbing yourself. I mean, I could have needed meshing in my esophagus doing what I was doing. Instead, you know, I was lucky enough that someone stopped me, because I don't know if I would have came out and told someone straight up while I was in college and when I was living in Springfield. You were one of my few friends. You don't talk about stuff with strangers, so it would have been very bad if I didn't talk about it. So natural progression. It's okay.
Although I feel like my feelings should be hurt because we talked about a ton of stuff. We talked about some even emotional kind of scarring and those type of things. You never brought this up with me until I posted something on Facebook. So I should be a little offended that you didn't say something to me.
Yeah, it was something I rarely talked about, because for me it seemed so frankly silly, because when you hear about eating disorders, there's a stigma of anorexia or overeating, and people think that it's left or right, white, black, night, day, and it's not. It's you have people somewhere. I'm gonna say that I'm in the middle. You know, I needed to have something, and I was hurting myself to do what I wanted, get what I wanted, and 145 pounds. I still, you know, probably had like 5-6% body fat, but how I attained that was not right, and I really could have hurt myself.
Anything else you want to add before we close this out?
Just gotta tell people again, you have to find someone to talk to. There's somebody there. I mean, I understand that there's a lot of homes, families, significant others, or friends that just won't be that person that you lean on for your personal talk. But the person I'm talking to right now, Shauna, she was my accountant. And I was talking, like, you know, we had that emotional talk, you know, back in the day. She was my accountant, and she was the person I was leaning on. So, maybe go find yourself a kick-ass accountant, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. Although not all accountants are like me, so.
No, I can attest to that. But seriously, just go find someone to talk to. There'll be somebody there, and you'll thank yourself for it in the long run.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank Justin for interviewing with us today. I'm so glad he decided to join us on our crazy journey that we're going on in this passion project. If you like what you heard, we want you again to subscribe to our YouTube page, like our social media pages, our Facebook and our Instagram. All of it you can find under Changing the Perspective, or if you're watching this on YouTube, it is in the description of our video, and the podcast will have it as well. Or if you or you know of someone has a story that needs to be heard by the world, please reach out. We are looking for anyone who's gone through some adversity or struggle and has come out on top or influenced some people along the way for the better. We're looking to spread as much hope and positivity as we can going into this new year. And hopefully this new year is going to be better in general. Hopefully we're getting 2020 out of the way, and 2021 will at least start picking up into a positive way. But we're really wanting to just take this as far as we can get it and change as many lives through our path. So if you have any of those things, please reach out. You can also reach us on our email, support@changingtheperspective.com. We would love to just hear about what you think about what's happening. Give us some feedback. Anything you've got, we just want to hear it. So please continue to follow us, our journey. Again, hopefully everyone had an amazing week this week. Hopefully your weekend's going to be amazing as well. And we will see you on the next interview. Bye.